Xing, which is one of the 12 animals of classical Xing Quan. And I gave a deeper insight into it than I've given before. And I showed some internal component of it, a deeper internal component of it. And that was very well received. So I want to go a little bit further now and take it one step beyond what I talked about in that film, because there's always something a little bit deeper in Xing Yiquan. See, Xing Yiquan used to be pretty exotic, maybe 30 years ago. It's like, wow, some ancient secret teaching and all this. But now everyone can go to China, just hop on a plane, a couple of mouse clicks, you know, you're over there, and you can get into all kind of really exotic things. So now people look at this simple, plain Xing Yiquan with its 17 moves. It's like, oh man, that's nothing. We could learn 118 moves or 412 moves or something. You know, all kind of fancy systems out there you could learn. So this has been left in the rear view mirror. But actually, the Xing Yiquan is extremely deep. The rabbit hole goes way deeper than you realize. And this is an example of that. So I've talked in previous films, actually quite a few years ago, about shenjing. Shenjing meaning a little extra turn of the screw you can give to the energy. You can look up the characters and everything, or watch my previous film. But it doesn't matter. The point is that even this modified dragon, or this indoor dragon as I call it, this also has a shenjing, just like all the moves do. And the only way you're going to appreciate that is if you have gone through all the steps of the previous training, that you can do the movements correctly, the rise, the fall, the stepping, the advancing as you go. Hopefully you can do the full dragon, the leaping dragon as well. But even if you can't do that, you can get a huge benefit from the indoor dragon, which is athletically easier, but I would say internally a deeper form. And what you're going to do in this is, first of all, you have to watch the first movie about the indoor dragon. I think it came out last week. And then what you're going to do is do everything there. Don't forget anything. Don't skip anything. Don't rush to this because you think, oh, this is the new shiny chrome tail fins, and so this is more fun, so let's just do this. No, this is built on that. It's built on that, okay? You have to do the full program or you're going to miss the boat. Okay, so I'm going to assume that you actually watched the previous film. Is that too dramatic, or is that too outrageous an assumption? I'm going to assume that. And I'm going to assume that you even took it seriously and that you're actually doing what I talk about there. Otherwise, this film is completely meaningless. You're truly wasting your time. So just click off and go somewhere else. So you've got that as your basis. Now, the only small thing we're going to do, the shenjings are always something small, easy to overlook, easy to dismiss, but one or two of you will understand. So you're doing the dragon and you're doing the lowering. You're lowering your whole body only halfway. This is the indoor dragon we're talking about. Beginning with the pelvis and the legs, and then your torso's lowering. But as you really from the after the first 20% or so, your mind is here in the lower surfaces of both arms, both forearms, and these lower edges here. And that will give you this tremendous charge because it seals the arc. You'll actually feel it compressing like a ball of supercharged compressed energy between the lower edges of your forearms and the rest of your torso and your body, and even your feet later. That huge ball of energy that you'll feel you're sort of pressing a mass downward using the edges of your forearms. Okay, so keep all that. The only difference is, at the very end, now the very end doesn't mean you lower all the way. This is not the leaping dragon we're talking about. You can do that if you want. That's a separate related but distinct topic. However, we're talking about going halfway. But Just before you reach the halfway point where you're going to stop in this particular mode, this is indoor dragon, at the very end, the last 5% of the movement, okay, that's what Shenjing is. It's always that last little tail, or actually as you have ended, after you've actually stopped all movement, just for a microsecond, you're going to flash your mind. Now, your mind has been here through most of the lowering, right? Don't skip that. Don't give that up. At the very end, this is the nature of Shenjing. It's at the end. Your mind goes here. The backs of your hands. Now, obviously, you flexed your wrist because this is the dragon shape, right? As you lower, it's just like Pichan splitting. That's the same thing, okay? So obviously, there's a little flex in here that raises the back of your hand as you come down. Both of them, not just the forward one, both back and front. So you're coming into this position anyway. Now, as you come to the very end, at the end, okay, don't give this up. You need this to bring the charge forward. Keep this lower edge of the forearm activation, but at the very end, okay, mind here, back of your hand. That will draw the energy, boom, boom, through your forearms, which has built up this charge as you've gone down. You've built up this charge here from here, okay, base of the wrist, to elbow. You've built up that charge. At the very end, your mind hits the back of your hand, and bam, it'll shoot that through, just like a bullet through a rifle barrel. Okay? So you're going to feel that. It's fun. But don't jump to this. Don't jump to this very end point and say, okay, now I got that. I'll just forget all the other stuff. No, because then you'll experience diminishing returns. Your first day might be fine because you'll still have the charge built up from the previous work before I introduced this. And that charge will carry through for a day or two. And then it'll slowly start to go down. And you'll be like, I thought this move was so cool, but no, it's not that great. It must have been a fluke. And you'll drop it. And that'll be the end of that. And why? Because you jumped to the end point and you forgot all the stuff that came before that I talked about before. Shenjing doesn't stand alone. All right? It cannot stand alone. This is the same point I've made all along. Okay? Another thing that has come up is some people wrote me, well, why do you trickle these things out? I mean, why is there this, like you give us this and then 6 months later or 3 months later, we get some little twist, another turn of the screw, like I sometimes say. Why is that? There is a reason for that, okay? All this stuff is transmitted by my teacher as a complete teaching. I spent just shy of 6 months on that. Doesn't seem like much, does it? But that's up to you if you want to pursue this teaching or not. If you're scared by a number, then you won't like it. But I got a lot out of it. So trying to pass what I can along to you. But I'm doing it in these stages. And why is that? It's because it's like if I told you how to cook something and I say, well, you need this ingredient and this and this and this, and this has to be cut a certain way, and that has to be set aside, and this has to be marinated, and then you have to put them together in a certain order, and you have to whip them or stir them or spoon them or whatever, then you have to season them a certain way, and then the oven has to be preheated, you put them in for a certain time, take it out, let it cool, add some sauce or whatever, and then finally, okay, you can serve it and eat it. But suppose from the very beginning, I tell you this ingredient, eggs, cheese, butter, whatever, whatever, lettuce or something, and then you say, well, screw all that stuff, all these too many steps, and now it's just too complicated. I think I'll just eat it all now, just right? That's what all of you guys would do, and you get absolutely nothing out of it. It would be completely and utterly pointless, and you would say, well, this stuff is just a lot of complicated shit. Or you wouldn't even do this. You would just say, look at this recipe. It covers 4 pages. Oh, screw it, it's just too complicated. I don't want that. I want to go out there and, kick ass, right? That's what we all want to do. So I've trickled it out this way so that at least the very few of you, the dozen or so, who are really following this stuff, you've been able to stage it, and you've seen it every stage. You've learned about yourself. You've had the time to work it deeply and knead it into yourself. And now you've understood that so that you're ready for the next thing. And then you see how it's built on the previous layer. And then you start to get the real benefit. So this new, it's not really new, right? It's all in the manual. But this teaching is offered in that spirit.